Bandwidth for First Updates Now is supported by AndyMark. Are you competition ready? Go to andymark.com and keep your team inspired. And by the Blue Alliance. Keep up to date on all live and archived First Robotics events and team stats at thebluealliance.com. First Updates Now is brought to you by viewers like you. Fun relies on the generous support of our fans in order to continue to keep creating content. Please consider donating, giving bits, or subscribing. Subscribe for a few bucks a month or for free through Twitch Prime. And don't forget that our subscribers get 5x chance to win on all giveaways.
Welcome to InFiMidation, Episode 2, Week 1, and thanks for tuning in. Today we'll be looking at what happened in Week 1, making some top 25 predictions, talking about fouls, because that's always a fun time, and see what we'll be looking forward to during Week 2 in the mitten. Reporting for First Updates Now, I'm PJ Lawalski.
I'm Nick Cousins.
And I'm Allison Hurley.
All right. 4 events in Week 1, all jam-packed with action. In fact, I'd say the action as a whole was much more intense and sort of at a higher level than we're used to seeing in Week 1 usually. Did you guys kind of get that same sense?
100%.
Yeah,
Best for Week 1 ever.
Yeah, and like even at the event, we'll get there in a minute, but yeah, even at an event that wasn't as strong overall, it was still very intense. But first, we're going to go downriver to the first ever Gibraltar District event. Allison, you were at that event, weren't you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Gibraltar event was, I was shocked at how well the competition was there. The one thing that impressed me the most was the autons that all the teams brought to the competition. Like, everyone had an auton that moved across the line, but then teams were bringing in autons that did 2 totes, and they had autons that brought a tote to the scale, and it was just very impressive event overall in that sense. But let's get to the real stuff. So the finalists of the event was Team 4505, the Atom Bots, who were the second alliance captains. They ended up picking Team 862, my team, Lightning Robotics, and Team 5523, the Robo Warriors. And
I believe that's world champion Lightning Robotics.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. And then they ended up making it all the way to the finals, and they ended up versing teams 1023, the Bedford Express, who was the first alliance captain, who picked 3536, the Electro Eagles, and 3655, the Tractor Technicians. And they ended up winning the first match 339 to 316. They only won because of a 25-point penalty. The Blue Alliance actually would have won by 2 points if they hadn't got that penalty. And then they won the second match 368 to 254. Bringing in the Engineering Inspiration for Awards team 4384, the Benzene Bots, and the Bionic Blackhawks 2834 brought in chairman. So overall, really amazing event to watch. I was super impressed. What happened up at Traverse City, PJ?
All right, so Traverse City was once again the 1918 show, the NC Gears a little bit. 1918 has gone to the Traverse City District 5 times since 2009, and in that time, including playoffs, their overall record is 80 wins, 15 losses, and 2 ties. So Traverse City is definitely someplace 1918 is always confident. In those 5 events, they've including this year, they have 4 event wins as the number 1 seed captain, and their only time they didn't win was as a finalist in 2009. And in that time, they've won a robot award every year, and Traverse City's just their place to shine. They were able to seed first with a triple climbing mechanism that they used in quarterfinals, specifically in quarterfinal 55. That one ended up being very important for ranking, where they were able to climb with both their alliance partners. When they seeded first, they chose 2075 Enigma from Grand Rapids, a team they know very well. 2075 is a great switch exchange play during the eliminations, and they also had 5247 Red Devil Robotics, who were playing some defense, doing some exchange work, and overall supporting the alliance as a whole. In the finals, they faced the number 6 alliance, captained by 6087, the Cybertronic Lancers, 1711, the Raptors, the host team, and 5424 Rogue Robots. This alliance actually handed 1918 their only loss of the event in finals match 2. However, once it came to Finals Match 3, 1918 and the Alliance had very little trouble putting the event away. When it came time for awards, 43-77, the Boyne City Blaze got the Chairman Award, and 36-18, the Petoskey Paladins grabbed Engineering Inspiration. Overall, super exciting event. Once again, watching the matches, such a high level of play, even for a week one event. So, Allison, I'm going to swing back to you, and let's talk about Kettering.
Yeah, so Kettering brought in all the local teams from the Flint area, and they brought a pretty good battle in the competition field. So there was one funny event that I wanted to talk about because foul points are actually a big deal for winning matches with high-scoring matches. And there was a match, qualification 20, where the red robot went down in the blue null zone in, like, the first 5 seconds. But the Blue Alliance still lost the match, so they didn't, like, get a tech foul at all. Like, they didn't even touch the red robot in the blue null zone. And I just thought that was really, like, funny. But, like, people, I mean, it's bad, but it's also, like, that's how you play the game. So if a robot's falling down in your null zone, like, you might as well tap them at least a little bit. But, yeah, anyway, the finalists for the event ended up being 51-14, the Titanium Tigers, 72-11, Team Hollywood, and 56-12, the Robo Raptors. They were the third-ranked alliance, and they burst 49-95, Kingston Robocards, 245, the Atom Bots, and 60-91, Eagle One, which was actually the fifth alliance, which took down the first alliance in the semifinals. The final scores ended up being 311-235 and 371-267, the Fifth Alliance winning. So it was a really good match to watch, a lot of fun. For awards, we had 1322, the Genesee Robotics Area Youth Team took home Engineering Inspiration, and 245, the Atom Bots took home Chairman. So they got double blue banners. Bling, bling, back. All right, what happened down at Southfield, Nick?
Yeah, well, speaking of cling bling, the Southfield district event, we saw, after a bunch of qualification matches, we saw 35-38, the Robo Jackets from Avondale take the number 1 seed. They proceeded to pick 33, the Killer Bees. And then they picked up 54-67 Robo Tractors on their way back around for their third robot.
Steal of a pick, in my opinion. They should have gone way earlier in that draft.
Yeah, we were pretty happy with that pick. In addition, the Hot team declined the second seeded alliance of 573 and decided to make their own as the number 3 seed. They went on to pick 4680, the Aztec Eagles, and 4218, the Bradford Bot Dogs. I will say 7218 was also definitely a sleeper. We were hoping to maybe nab them, and they definitely made sense for Hot to pick them. So in the finals, those two alliances met each other with the number 1 alliance coming out on top of 35-38, 33, and 54-67. 33 also got the Chairman's Award as well, so they picked up that Cling Bling. This is also their 8th straight year winning their first event now. Overall, there was a couple cool moments. 35-38, 67, and 33 were all in an alliance together. We're actually showing 67 in another match when they broke the scale. I'm pretty sure this has happened at a few events. I don't know if it happened like this, though. They literally came down on it with their intake, and they broke the welds on the scale plate. They had to take the practice field one and swap it out. I don't know how Hot managed it, but you know, it's Hot, so there it is. In addition, Avondale, 35-38, 33, and 67 were all in a match together. Hot actually tips over during the match on top of the switch, and then Avondale proceeds to spatula underneath them with their intake, and then actually lift them back up using their elevator. It tipped them back up immediately, and then Hot proceeded to climb at the end of the match with 33 on top of them. I think one of the robots on the other alliance also tipped during the match, so that match was insane. Overall, it was a great
wasn't
event.
Even fair. Like
it was definitely a tough match for the Blue Alliance, but it was a really cool match and definitely one of the coolest clips from week 1, I think, across the whole country. So that summarizes up Southfield. All right, PJ, you got any Michigan teams that traveled that you want to cover real quick?
Yeah, I'm just going to mention them just because, just give a quick shout out. I know they've been covered it. They'll be covered in their respective regions. But 302 and 4362 traveled down to Ohio and won Miami Valley as the fourth seeded alliance. So good. Congratulations, guys. And then 141 traveled down to Northern Virginia and actually won that event on the seventh alliance. So some FIM teams traveling and leading some good upsets. So congratulations, guys, bringing those medals back to the mitten.
All right, we are going to move on to some FRC Top 25 predictions. Don't forget, FRC Top 25 will be on tomorrow night, so be sure to catch that. Allison, what favorites do you think, for the Top 25 this week coming from Gibraltar and Kettering?
Yeah, looking at the events that I was covering, Team 3536, who was picked by the first ranked alliance, 1023, definitely brings the skills and the odd-time level that are needed to be a top 25 team, yet they're kind of underrated, being this is the first blue banner they've ever won, and not many people, even in Michigan, know about them. So from my perspective, I think they're the most underrated team that should be on top 25, but being on there, actually making there, might be kind of difficult for them. We also got Team 1023, Bedford Express. They won the event, and they're a pretty well-known team, so I could see them popping up there pretty easily. And possibly Team 862, they were finalists and world champs last year, so they did pretty well at the event, I'd say also, so it's possible to make it up there. From Kettering, Team 245, the Atombots could find their way up onto the top 25 list as well. What about from Traverse City?
All right. There's one name that sticks out of Traverse City. I mentioned him. You know him. You love him. 1918. They dominated that event. They've dominated in Michigan for years. My pick is they got the name recognition. I think they're fantastic. Very nice people. Vote for 1918. I love them to death. So, Nick, what's your prediction?
All right. Well, I think there's definitely probably going to be at least a couple coming out of Southfield. I think 33 is definitely going to find their way somewhere in the top 25 with the win and the chairman's win as well. I could definitely see 67 getting in there. They have really good climb assist, probably one of the best in the world right now. When it goes down, it's one of the easier ones to drive onto, and then, they're able to kind of tilt it back towards them, and they just go right up. So when they're consistent, that was really good. And, they do have that big name recognition. Another team I think that should make it, I hope people voted for them. I'm worried they're going to get snubbed. 35-38 Avondale played really well this weekend. They were one of the big, huge reasons why that number one alliance was able to win. Their intake was incredible, and they were just pounding cubes into the exchange, pounding cubes into the switch. Their scale scoring was one of the best at the event as well. So I really hope they make it in this week as well.
All right, now let's go ahead and look forward to what we can expect in week 2. Nick, what are you looking forward to at the St. Joe event?
Yeah, so the St. Joe event definitely has a few big name teams that are definitely going to be looking for the win. Specifically, 2337, the Engine Nerds, is traveling all the way from out here in the Grand Blanc area. They're going all the way out to St. Joe. They're going to be looking to grab a win early this year at their first event. And then, of course, the reigning world champion, 2767 Strike Force, is going to be playing their first event of the year as well. They're definitely going to be looking to build on last year's massive success with an early win. And then another team I would definitely keep an eye on, 3620 Average Joes, have been very consistent and strong for quite a while now. They're definitely going to be looking for their first win of the season as well. That being said, 2337 is definitely one of the big favorites to win chairman's as well. 85 could also be a chairman's contender at that event as well. How's Kettering 2 shaping up, Allison?
All right, I'm super excited for Kettering Week 2. There's going to be 40 teams from around Michigan, a little more than just the usual local teams at the Week 2 event, so it should be a little more interesting. Competition-wise, there's a couple teams to look out for. 2017, the Thunder Chickens. 314, the Megaton Oracles. 469, Last Gorillas. 494, the Martians. And 2619, the Charge, all have really good competition reputations, and I'm excited to see what they bring for this year's competition. Chairman's Lookout, we got 217. They're a 6-time Chairman's winner. They won at Troy last year as well. And we also have 2619. They're a 2-time winner, and they won at Midland last year. So that should be pretty interesting as well. I'll be at the event volunteering. field reset. So find me, say hello. Should be fun.
I might be hitting up Kettering 2 on Saturday as well, just as a spectator. So if I end up going and you see me, come say hi. With that said, we're going to preview the Waterford district event. This is definitely more of a deeper event when it comes to how many different teams there are that could possibly take home the win. The biggest favorites are probably 68 Trucktown Thunder, 107 Team Robotics, and 2137 Torque. There's also a lot of mid-range teams though as well that could very easily seed up high and take the win. 28-51, 35-39, 37-70, 41-30, 49-61. All these are really good mid-level teams who could definitely, without a doubt, take the win. 61-17 and 63-44 are also a couple younger teams as well that have been doing well, and they could definitely be contenders at the event as well. Definitely for chairmans, however, 68 Trucktown Thunder's got to be the big chairman's favorite. Don't you think, PJ?
Yeah, for sure. The only one I could see potentially stealing from them would be Torque, 2137. They took the state award back in 2015, if memory serves. So I think they might be able to snag it, but I do think Truck has to be the favorite. Then one other team I want to shout out, 50-53 is also another great team that's going. They won, I believe, 2 districts last year.
Yep.
And they're going to be a force to be reckoned with as well. But like Waterford is stacked this year. You can't even list all the teams that are going that are competitive. So then our last district of the week is going to be Centerline, which is right in the Metro Detroit area. At Centerline, 7 teams will already be competing in their second district. But of those 7, only 2 made elims week 1. 123 Team Cosmos was the 7th-seeded Alliance's first pick at Gibraltar. They made quarterfinals. And then 47-58 was the second pick of the second Alliance at Southfield, and they made semifinals. So those are the only teams with any playoff experience this year. 30-98, the captains are the clear top bot going in. Looking at it, I think they have the chance to be really hugely successful. I've always loved the captains. They're a great team. Some of the other teams in contention that are hoping to, maybe steal that top spot or, play with the captains on Saturday afternoon. 8-18, the Steel Armadillos. 10-25, Impies. 11-89, Gearheads. 31-75, Night Vision are all in contention. 123 is also going to be in contention. Watching some of their matches from Gibraltar, they had some pretty good scale scoring ability. They had a switch auton. They had some issues with gathering cubes, but hopefully maybe they'll be able to work that out. They have the experience that may be able to give them the edge. Centerline also is half of the event is Mez teams. And for those who don't know, those outside Michigan or those not from the Detroit area, Mez stands for Michigan Engineering Zone. It's a lot of the inner city Detroit teams. They have sort of limited resources, but they can come and they can surprise you. There was some at Southfield last week that I was actually surprised. Like they've got some decent exchange bots. There's a couple that are pretty good on the Switch. So don't sleep on them just because they're the Mez teams.
Yeah, I'll say like going into Southfield, this is my first district event, so I'd heard a lot about the Mez teams, but I was pretty surprised. Like all the qualification matches for the most part, and this is just kind of week 1 in general. They were all able to compete at a pretty decent level and score in some regard. So definitely don't write them off in any way.
Yep. And Centerline's my favorite event for a lot of reasons, but I will be at Centerline as a referee. Once again, come say hi to me if you see me. All right, so now we're going to move into our discussion topic. We don't got a lot of time left, but we're going to get some quick thoughts. One thing that came into play pretty prominently was the plethora of fouls called in week 1, or conversely, the lack thereof in some situations that seemed illegal. As a disclaimer, as a referee at a week 1 event, I'm going to be recusing myself from this discussion for obvious reasons. So I'll let Nick and Allison kind of lead this one. So, Nick, I know you have a lot to say about this topic, so why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yeah, so overall, I think, and this wasn't just FIM, from what it seems like, a lot of events had a lot of fouls. It seemed pretty common to every match having a foul, and believe it or not, going into the events, I think everybody was worried about the launching fouls. It wasn't really the launching fouls that was really happening all weekend. It was mostly, at least at Southfield and some of the other events I saw, it was all about controlling the cube or controlling more than one cube. And, they wrote all these definitions for herding, for bulldozing, for plowing. And it seemed like everything went out the window and none of those applied. And it was just sometimes you would see a team plow all 6 cubes along the switch to one side and there'd be no call. And then other times you would go to score a cube on the scale and there'd be one underneath that you'd bump by 3 inches. And then suddenly that was a foul. It made no sense. I really hope that at least the referees are instructed a little bit more concretely on how these are supposed to be called. Ideally, first finds a way to fix these rules. Allison, did you notice anything like this going on at Kettering last week?
Yeah, well, I was at Gibraltar,
Gibraltar,
and
I'm
watching the Kettering events too. I saw so many teams end up pushing all of the cubes over from like along the wall, or even in their area, they'd move like 4 or 6 at a time and not even get called. And then
Right.
if you accidentally moved like 2 at a time, it's like, you're called foul like right away. So like I think that consistency is the most important key to like making this rule more effective. It is important for the game, I would say. So like they just have to make sure that refs are aware that calling all of these things are important. Even if it like it's like they're pushing 6 in a row along that wall, like they have to make sure they're calling that at every event and they're calling that in every match like consistently. So
Yep, definitely agreed.
All right. So then I think that's going to be about our time for the night. So thank you to everyone who's been watching. If you want more First Robotics in your life and you like what we do, all that we ask is that you let others know about this show and that this is the place to go for more FRC in their lives. If you got a few bucks to share, we appreciate it. We appreciate a sub, or if not, follow us, whatever you can do. But if not, we totally understand. Are delighted to have you on board watching our shows. On behalf of myself, Nick, Allison, and our producer Tyler, I would like to thank you for tuning in, and thank you to all of our moderators in chat for keeping it civil. Our next show is going to be We the North, coming up in just a few minutes, and we will talk to you next week on InFiMidation. Goodbye.